Hey, how's it going? Today, I just want to talk about, well, a couple of things. And in a way, for me, they're kind of linked. So I'll start with the first thing that has to do with a kind of unnerving and just like, I don't know, it's just, I find it now really, well, it was irritating at the time, but now it's had a day or 2 days to soak in. I was out with a woman that helps me. She works for me, but I don't pay her. I get benefits because I'm disabled, and they pay for a local Catholic community deal to have someone come and help me when I need help. And so one of the things that I get help with is I don't have a car, and so I need help with shopping. And that's what I was doing 2 days ago with this person. And I should just, put it right out front. I am not, I think the people that are so crazed about the guns that they have to march around in the streets and constantly declare their right to their Second Amendment privileges, I don't agree with that. I think their interpretation of the Second Amendment is baloney, and they know it. And the reason they need to have a gun is not ever what they're saying. And so, this person is Caucasian and blonde, natural blonde. And so, that's just to give some texture to the depiction of the person and why I think she and her feelings about the guns and why she feels she needs it so strongly and she claims to be so afraid of attack is just, I know her living situation, and she has said that the reason she has the gun is because she gets scared because her husband is away from the home up to 4 or 5 days a week just because of his job, but he comes back on the weekends. But the thing is she's not home alone. She has a dog. It's a little yappy dog, but they make noise. But she lives on a complex, or a compound rather, where her parents also live, and her sister and that family live, and I don't know if they have dogs as well, but I wouldn't be surprised. And so they're all on this single property, and they're spaced out. But I can't believe that if the attack she so fears were to happen, if she were to scream or something, I can't believe no one would hear it. I can't believe that. I mean, she makes it like she's on the moon by herself and no one's going to come help her. And I'm sorry, I just don't think that's the case. So anyway, that's just a little background on her and her feeling that she needs the gun so bad. I guess the reason it irritates me is because I know that if I go walking outside and say the wrong thing to the wrong person on the wrong day, I could end up dead because they're packing. And they are a person that is very resentful toward black people, which is another part of what I want to discuss. But let me come back to what I was talking about initially, the person that helps me. And I appreciate her help. I really do. And she's very nice. But you know how when you, know people and then there are things about them that you don't agree with or that you find irritating or are just unsettling, but you don't really, I don't make a big deal of it because, for one thing, I need the help, and I'm in a small town. It's rural-ish, and mostly Caucasian, and so I've lived here since 2004, and I've noticed in the past several years, I'm going to say 5 or 6, because the last time I had a experience like this, it was also the first time in this town. But I was in the hospital, and there were some nurses on doing rounds, and they were interns. And so they were supposed to come in and everybody check my blood as a group and do that thing. And so this one fellow is like standing outside the door. He wouldn't come in the room, he claimed, because he didn't want to treat a nigger. And I was like, whoa, really? Okay, whatever. And everyone else just kind of knowing, like, they just didn't react. Not even to the fact of how, like, insulting that would be, one, and, like, why, would you inflict that kind of anxiety on somebody? You're in the hospital, so you are ailing in some way. And I just thought, wow. But I think I know who the guy is. I don't know his name, but I noticed that this car that I've seen since I've lived here was in the lot, and it's a monster truck, jacked up Bronco, and the person that drives it has a huge Confederate flag that's about the size of the bed of the thing, okay? And it's on a pole that he's mounted on his bed of the truck, and that thing flies when he's driving around. And so I don't think he's, fond of black people. But that truck had been in the parking lot while I was there. I could see it out the window every day. And so I kind of feel like the guy that didn't want to treat me because I'm a nigger is the same guy. Okay, so that's the extent of the racism I've run into here. But, it's, I don't know. I mean, it feels horrible when you run into it. So that sounds like a side note, but it has to do with the other part of what I'm going to talk about as well. But what I'm saying is it's small town, mostly white, and there is an element of, like, black haters here, I guess. I don't think he's alone, because they tend to act in a pack situation. So, now that you know all that, me and the person that helps me, we were at a local grocery store, and well, I'm in a wheelchair, but I was, like, about to roll on in, and she put her hand on my shoulder and she just said, "Stop, I have to show you something. My husband said I should let you know about this." And I was like, "What? Are you," like, thinking she was going to quit or something. And she's like, "It's in my purse, just look in there, and you don't have to say anything." And then she says, I have a concealed carry permit, and I go to the range." And I was like, oh, Jesus, this bitch brought her fucking gun here and she's showing it to me. And it pissed me off, because she said that her husband, I appreciate him having the sense to tell her to tell me. I don't appreciate the fact that he should dissuade her from all of these ideas that make her think that she needs to be toting a gun around. He should tell her, since he was a soldier, as I say, how horrible it is for your soul to be killing people. And in a war situation, they are your enemy. But I have other memories of, not this life, but other lives. But I know that I've been a soldier 2 other times. And I know that you don't just kill someone and brush it off. It doesn't just roll off like oil. That does something to you. And you may not be aware of it immediately, and you may not be aware of what effects they are that happen to you at a later point, maybe. But it's always going to affect you in some way. Always. Because you have taken a life. And so the reason why I was irritated with her ideas about the gun and her feeling that she's so, like, under threat are ridiculous. Like, how dare you say that to me? You actually think So, okay, I'm not going to go into my own ire about that much more, but I think I've made my point clear. So, I said, why do you need that? And she says, well, you know how it is lately. Something might happen, and I might need it. I might need to protect myself. And I'm sitting there thinking, of all of the scary stories you've seen, I know I've been watching a shit ton of them, like, all the time, because it has to do with making my videos, too. It informs what I do. It's not always pleasant. I often have to shut it off and come back to it, and the racial stuff is just hard. And she doesn't get that. But I'm wondering, in what report did she see the white person with the gun getting shot down, killed, or going to jail, or otherwise injured? Like, I was so, like, I just knew I needed to pack it up and put it away for processing later and get the shopping out of the way. And I do like this person, you know? I mean, we all have our problems. I mean, I'm sure, I know that I have racial things that come up with me, or racist things, not racial, you know. And I immediately know, like, don't do that. You know, it's like when you're a kid, you learn things like beaner and wetback and chink and stuff like that. And it takes you a while, and some people never get it, to understand, like, don't call what people are an epithet. That is beyond an insult. That's them's fighting words, right? Like, you just don't do that. It's out of hand and there's no need. But like I was saying, in any report I've ever seen lately, because of the protests, because of the times we're having right now, which somehow to her it's not about the black people getting hurt and killed that has been going on for hundreds of years. It's about what's going to happen to her. Now that's either some serious white guilt from other lives that she's still dealing with or something, or I don't know if there is an order. I think that's probably a lot of what it is. And then just misinformation, and you know, she's, as I said, Caucasian. She's married to a Latino person from south of the border. I'm not going to say specifically where, but south of here, and native Spanish speaker. So you would think, like, oh, well, she can't be racist, but you would think wrong. I would refer you to Lou Dobbs, who says the most horrendous things about Latinos. He's married to a Latino woman. He likely has Latino kids. So it's some kind of weird headset that I don't get. But, and I need to talk to her about it. I wouldn't just be blowing up here with it, except I don't really have anyone right now to talk to. I'm, as of the current time, fresh out of friends. None of my friends live near me, and I'm just, you know, everyone's busy with their life and dealing with their kids. Like, it was hard enough to talk to people. You know, I'm a single person, so I don't have all these attachments. It was hard enough to get a minute with people before, when all disease and protests wasn't going on. And so now it's just like, I know they're busy and no one's calling me, so I'm not talking to anybody. And, you know, my video gets to hear what I have to say. So, all of that in mind, the other thing that has been bothering me for a long time. Let me back it up a little bit. I was talking about that she couldn't be racist, but she could, a la Lou Dobbs. And then also just, you know, she says things sometimes. Like, she when she first started coming here, she says, oh, I guess I can't call you a nigger. And I was like, of course you can't. But, you know, I need help. I need this person. And sometimes people have asked me stuff like that, and one, I don't want to have like a big commotion and situation about it, because then you have to explain to them why they're wrong. I'm not up to it, and I don't care to, and it's not my job to explain it to them. It's for them to get it. So, I was having a conversation about her recently with another friend of mine that I've known a long time. And I said, she's a little racist. And he said, well, that can't be, because you can't be a little pregnant. And I beg to differ. You could be a month pregnant or a week pregnant. That's a little pregnant. But she is, though. I mean, obviously, she was walking around saying nigger, nigger, nigger. And, like, that's racist. Sorry. It is. But a lot of times, like, people just have to ask these things. They just have to get it out, you know? And I don't need to have a fight with everybody. And as I said, I don't need to explain their shit to them. But, it's the extra ingredient of the gun that really has got me, like, off my kilter. So, that was unnerving and that was disturbing, and I need to talk to her because I don't appreciate her with the gun. Like, if something were to go down, our town is pretty placid. Like, stuff that's happening, there's no protests here. There's probably some sick people here. I had to go get blood drawn the other day, and they did take my temperature at the door, and they did make me go in by myself rather than have my caregiver wheel me in, which I don't need her wheel me in. I have a, self-propelled chair. My arms work just fine. But, they stopped me at the door, and there was a police officer standing there, which there normally isn't. And he was like overlooking the whole thing, like, don't give her any trouble kind of expression. Like, bitch, I came here to get a procedure done. I ain't thinking about any kind of trouble. Don't put that on me. Get that ugly look off your face or direct it at somebody besides me. And that's a microaggression for people that don't know. So, yeah, I mean, it's not like, and the hospital, like, the halls were basically empty of people except for hospital personnel, which is kind of weird, but I didn't get the idea that it was like they were freaking out and they had a huge ward of sick people, and I would have heard about it because this town is not big. Like, somebody I know or a friend of a friend would know if somebody's sick. I have yet to hear that, so it's not all going down here. Like, she just got all whipped up and freaked out, and if she whipped that thing out and something was going down, who do you think would get shot? Her or me? Me! So, okay, that's that. The other thing I was wanting to talk about is, and this has been bugging me since I was a child and I learned about it, like, you have all of these white organizations, like white power type people, skinheads and your KKK and your whatever else, and now they're Boogaloo shrimp people. Like, that's supposed to disguise them. Like, obviously, they don't appreciate Boogaloo shrimp or Boogaloo anything. They think it's nigger, clown, stupid, jungle, their state of mind. And so, my thing has always been, wait a second, why do you guys want to chase down and kill all the black people? Because slavery's gone. The black people did not free themselves, okay? The black people are not the ones that took away you profiting off their backs. And why are you, 300 years later? Why are you mad at all black people now? Like, that is retarded. I am sorry, I know that's an un-PC thing to say, but how else can I put it? You have, like, an axe embedded in your brain. How's that? Does that work? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I can't even come up with an explanation. Like, even if it's crappy, made up, blaming, like, well, you took our job. Well, if we did take the job, it was the shittiest job and you didn't want to do it anyway. You don't want to let us live anywhere nice. You put us next to poisonous, radioactive crap. You don't let us have, in some places, fresh food. So all that they can really eat is sugar and processed cancer poison and tobacco and liquor. And it's like you have no ability to put yourself in that situation to understand what it might feel like, what might drive you to crime, what might drive you to some of the things that are so looked down upon and made criminal when it's a black person doing it. And I will direct you to the cocaine laws. Powder cocaine, even if it's a carload, has a less of a consequence for a Caucasian, and then a crack cocaine, it's a black person or a brown person and they're in jail for like the rest of their life, or a marijuana seed or stem and they're up the river. And I know it's been made legal in a lot of places, but I don't know if you know this, but apparently our current Attorney General, federal Attorney General, is just so against the use of marijuana, and he should smoke some. That's all I can say, because he needs to. He needs to understand that it has healing qualities, and if it's criminal and it's causing crimes, it's because people like him won't legalize it. Like, it's ridiculous. You create these situations and then you blame it on the black people or the brown people or the poor people. Like, there's always got to be some whipping boy. And then you also got these people that just hate, you can't be gay, you can't be trans, you can't be, any kind of different. You got to be homogenous and white, and that's it, and everything else is bad, and it should be jailed or killed. Ridiculous. That is if you're a Christian, that is a horrible outlook on life, and not what Christ would do, not how Christ would be, not according to the precious Bible. So, man, get your crap together, people. You're stressing me out. And I have to tell you, I didn't even experience anyone beyond my family calling me a nigger until I was 23 years old. And it didn't feel good. I was coming out of a store. I was a messenger then, and I had to use the phone because I didn't have a radio in my car yet. And so I'd stopped at this little store in this little Bay Area town up in the mountains. And so I'm making my way from the store because I had to get change, and then there was a phone booth outside, and I'm making my way from the phone booth back to my car, and here comes this other guy the other way, and it's one of those narrow spaces where the fronts of the cars and those little concrete barriers for the tires are there, and then you got like 5-6 feet between the end of the car and the building, which had like the phone booth and the other stuff, the kind of things they put out in front of stores, like some kind of soda situation. But anyway, it was like kind of a tight squeeze, but I turned sideways, we didn't touch each other, and he gets past me, and I'm getting into my car, and I was facing him at that point, because that's just the way it worked out. And he's like, he's still standing there, like in front of the next car, and he's all, "Fuck you, nigger," and I'm like, okay, what the hell did I do to you? And it was just, that's kind of how it is. It's like, they're just mad at you because they just want you to die because, I don't get it. I just don't understand. I mean, even if I'm that mad at someone, and then no one has done anything to me terrible enough that I want them to die as a whole race of people, or even if they did something like what happened to the Jews to us, which they did, it was hundreds of years ago, and they still have sneaky ways of doing it, I'm still not going to do that to someone else. And I wish that they could get to the point as a group, all these haters, all these dudes like to get together and talk about killing a whole other race of people or a whole other sexual I don't know, like they hate everything that's just not white, straight, and Christian or something, and that's insane because there's more of all of everything else probably all over the whole world than white Christians. So I wish that they could just wake up. It's stressful, I don't have kids, thank God. I don't think I would ever sleep. I mean, I was very lucky. My mom married black guys, and my family always said she was black, but I never saw any evidence of it. She didn't look it. My grandmothers were both blue-eyed white women, but I did see something unusual recently. I think it was about a year ago, and I was looking at another YouTuber's site, and his name is Kurimeo Ahau. Ahau, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, the last name, but it's Ahau. And what he does is he researches Native ancestry and like all of it, and slavery and indenturitude and all of this really intense stuff. And he finds stuff at the Smithsonian and journals and books, and it's just incredible. And so I have been trying to learn about my Native heritage for a long time. When I was a child, my grandmother told me that we were Choctaw, which is, well, she was from Louisiana, but the tribe goes from there north into Oklahoma, and I'm sure a whole bunch of other places, but, that's where my family is from. My grandmother was from there, my paternal grandmother, and my mother and my maternals were from New Orleans. So I wanted more information, and I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't know all about the Choctaw, or I still don't. But I'm looking at Kurimeo's stuff, and he was doing Louisiana, so I thought, okay, well, they'll have my shit in there. And they had a picture of this Choctaw band, and they looked like they were wearing like bark and maybe Spanish moss for clothes. It was a very old picture, like they hadn't been, assimilated and homogenized. But I think there was probably about 6 or 7 people, and standing right in the front of them, this woman was my mother. She fully had my mother's face. I almost fell out of my skin. It was crazy. And my mom, well, I don't even know who my grandfather was, her father. My grandmother never talked about him, my paternal grandmother. I tried to ask her a few times and she wouldn't tell me. My mom would never tell me anything. My other relatives wouldn't tell me anything if they knew. I mean, they wouldn't even say if they knew. But they all insisted she was black, and I'm thinking, well, how black could he be? Her hair was straighter than mine. It was straight. I mean, she had to roll it in curlers to get, it's just like, and now everybody's dead, just about, so it's very hard to find this stuff out, but there's something there, man. And my paternal grandmother, the one that said that we were Choctaw, well, her mother was half. And you could see that. She had black parentage. My grandmother did. But, you may have heard the term good hair when black people are talking about hair. And she wore her hair natural, and it was long, and it was definitely black hair, but it wasn't like the kind of curls you'll see on some people that you would identify the same as like the kind of spring you find in a ballpoint pen. I don't even know if they still make those clicky kind anymore, but very tight, small curls. That was not the hair she had. It was good hair. She was able to have it long. She wore it pulled back in a bun, and I don't think I ever saw my grandmother's hair down. But that's an indication right there. And then, through Kurimeo and then like powwows.com, I started watching, and that led me to other powwows. But when I saw them in Louisiana, I couldn't believe how many of them Choctaw women looked like me. It was crazy. Some of them looked like movie Indians with the black straight hair, and others of them, at least in the face and the skin tone and features, these people were me. So, yeah, it's crazy. I don't know why I went there. I guess just that Native American people have been getting the stiff end too, but just yesterday, they got some wins. They got some land back in Muskogee, and it's amazing. And other things happened this week, and if that were what I was going to talk about, I would have pulled up on my other screen that information, but I'll just keep it simple here. I guess I just want to say that I don't know what is wrong with these white people that are against everybody and everything, but dude, you need to snap out of it. Because I will refer to our founding fathers, many of whom were slaveholders, and many of whom felt just fine porking the help. And so then they had mixed race children. And so obviously we're not other than white people. If you can breed with us, we're the same thing. Otherwise it wouldn't work. Get a brain on that, please. And then deal with your own insecurities and problems, and the idea that like you're over other people. Stop that. You're not. You might have more stuff or better stuff or newer stuff, but your stuff is not you. Your stuff is just crap around you. Let me refer you here to George Carlin, and he can tell you about your stuff and your shit and how it's not you if you can make that leap with your little pea brains. And your brains could be bigger if you would let some love and light in there and stop hating so much. It's so much more gratifying to be friendly and nice and cooperative. You give as much as you get and more. And you don't own everything and everybody. So just for the sake of us all, especially yourselves, please lose that idea. I think that is about all that I wanted to say. I just needed to get that stuff off my chest. I appreciate your attention. If you chose to join me, I would just like to say thank you and good night.